The old man is killing himself. He puts on a nice suit, puts on some skin care, and then he hangs up a noose. That's it. He's about to kick the chair. He hears a noise outside the house. He looks over his shoulder. Someone's driving. He's angry. Come out and curse. No driving here. On the other side was a new neighbor who didn't know the rules, so the old man had to help him, but the driver was too stupid, and he hit the mailbox, so the old man had to help him open it, and then he backed the car into the garage, walked away handsome, and went back to his room to commit suicide. He put the rope on again, but the neighbors gathered at the window, and the little girl ran to the window to watch. He quickly put the rope away for fear of scaring the children, and the suicide plan fell through again. A Swedish film called A Man Called Ove Decided to Die, which became a hit on the internet in 2016, cured many lonely people. If you're disappointed in life, I highly recommend you take a look at it. It's about this dirty-faced old man, Ove, who, a few months ago, lost his favorite wife, was recently fired from his job. His life is hopeless, so he wants to die. He's a typical Nordic. He was cold and hard, and when people said hello to him, he would say, "Don't argue." The next day, Ove was more careful. He closed the curtains. He put his head in the rope again. Who knows? Ove tried to ignore it. The doorbell kept ringing. He opened the door angrily. Oh, it's a child. He had to put it away. The children's parents also appeared. It was the new neighbors who brought him food and needed to borrow a ladder. Ove had to borrow the ladder impatiently. At this time the old lady came to him, again to help fix the heating. It seemed that everyone was trying to prevent him from committing suicide. Ove's on fire. That's enough. That's enough. Get out of here. Everybody get out of here. Ove came home, looked at the picture of his wife. Sad. He had made up his mind, hung the rope again. This time he did it right. His life began to flash back. From childhood, Ove lost his mother at a young age, and had to live with his father. Daddy didn't talk much. One day Ove was standing on the tracks. There was a train coming behind him. Daddy screamed like crazy. Wait until Ove was gone. Daddy picked him up for the first time, held him for a long time. Some men's love is hidden in their hearts. A few years later, Ove grew up, showed his father his report card, showed it around, until he was hit by a train. Life is a joke. Later Ove was made a fool of by fate. A demolition official, because Ove refused to move, burned his house to the ground. Ove had no home but to work on the tracks, sleeping on the trains, and, unexpectedly, at the lowest point of his life, he was confronted by the best thing that ever happened to him, a woman who wore red heels and painted red lips. Her eyes were blue, her front teeth were always showing. She smiled like an angel. She filled his bus ticket, gave him his bag when he got off the bus, looked him straight in the eye. Ove was a wood, but he knew he was in love with her, too. He started taking the same train, every day on time, sat for 3 weeks, finally saw her again. He and her first date. Ove couldn't hit on a girl at all, either silence or talk about cars. The girl asked Ove, "Why didn't you order something to eat?" Ove said, "I've eaten at home. He's too poor to pay for one man's meals." He confessed. His house burned down. He had nothing, and then he humbled himself to leave. "Thank you. It was a nice night." The girl suddenly kissed him. Ove understood, and heaven sent him an angel. Back to old age. This time, his rope broke and he didn't die. Ove decided to die a different way. He went to the other woman to get the water pipe and fix the heat for her. There was an old man who had a stroke in her house, an old friend of his. Ove spoke to his old friend before anyone could hear him. "The world is getting worse. People are not old. Fortunately, I am about to die forever." When the old woman came back and told him, "Don't look at my husband, can't move. He actually knows everything." Ove was stunned and was about to leave, but his old friend pulled his pipe. "This is a paraplegic retention, very warm mountain." Ove ignored. He went home, began the 5th suicide. The 5th suicide. Is the car exhaust? Ove whistled. Think this is absolutely successful, because it is their garage. No one to disturb. Ove closed his eyes again, but, after a while, someone was photographing his garage. Ove rushed out. It turned out that the neighbor's husband had fallen and was injured. She came to beg Ove to take her and her 2 daughters to the hospital. Ove had to agree. Suicide was again aborted. Came to the hospital. The woman went in alone to see a patient and asked Ove to help take her 2 daughters. Ove had to promise. The girls were bored. Ove also told them a story, which made the girl laugh. When Ove came home, he wanted to go away in cold blood, but he didn't think of it. The little girl thanked him for his company and gave him a hug. It was really sweet. Ove didn't die today. Next time, Ove learned his lesson. Moved the suicide to the train platform. The train came, but I didn't think anyone could move faster than him. Ove was stunned. When he turned around, there was a look of indifference on his face, and there were even people filming on their cell phones, and he couldn't bear it, so he ran over and saved the man. The train was getting closer and closer. Ove was in the middle of the tracks. It was time. But then, He suddenly saw himself as a child. He remembered his father, who had taught him to stay away from the train, but his father had died the same way. As a result, at the last moment, Ove held out his hand. The suicide plan failed again. This day he came home. I saw a woman with a dog throwing a stone at a stray cat. He yelled at her, "If you throw it again, I'll kill your dog." The dog started barking. He learned it. The woman was chased away. Ove cursed at the cat, but he didn't have the heart to do anything when he got home, and gave it to the cat to eat. But the cat disappeared. But a few days later, the stray cat hid in his doorway again, and he and his neighbor brought the cat in. Because the neighbor's daughter was allergic to the cat, he was the only one who could take in the cat. As a result, Ove not only did not die, but also had a cat, came to his wife's grave and said, "I have a burden. I will get rid of it as soon as possible to find you." But the reality is, every day carrying the cat to walk around, back home to the cat to make delicious food. This day, saw a neighbor husband taught his wife to drive very bad, and volunteered to teach for him. And in the street, someone honked at her, made her cry, and Ove jumped out of the car, yelled at the driver behind him, and then, when the woman went out, he asked Ove to come and help her with the kids. Ove wandered around her house, hearing his daughter say that his father couldn't load the dishwasher. He secretly installed the dishwasher for them. At night, the cat also slept beside Ove and was very close to him. With these ties, Ove seemed to have hope for life again, until this day, when his neighbor persuaded him, "You can't keep living in the past." Ove hasn't had a chance to get angry when he comes across the white shirt who's always picking on him. This man is a petty bureaucrat, always using his position for personal gain. He treats people badly. He speaks even worse to Ove. "You used to be such a boring bastard. Your wife dies and you become a madman." Everyone's licking Ove's wounds. Ove breaks down. He rushes into the house, shuts himself down. He tries to kill himself again, 7 times. Ove decides to use a shotgun, just pulls out a gun. The cat was watching, so he turned on the radio so the cat wouldn't get scared, and he covered his room with cellophane so the cat wouldn't get blood on it, and he aimed a shotgun at his chin and his forehead, and Ove got angry and rushed out with the gun. At the door was his wife's former student. He begged Ove to take in his friend because he had been kicked out by his family. Ove scolded him, but looked at him pitifully and took him in. The next day, the young man still made him breakfast, and gave the cat a meal. It was Ove's first breakfast together in 6 months. He began his patrol. The young man wanted to go with him, but not only he, but the cat also went with him. Halfway through, the other young man followed him. Ove's team actually grew. Soon Ove learned that his old friend had suffered a stroke and was being forced to go to a nursing home. Ove was angry because some nursing homes in Europe needed to cheat patients out of money. Though he had problems with his old friend, he couldn't let him be bullied. He decided to help. He started making all kinds of phone calls, writing all kinds of letters, but nothing came of it. Ove was so weak, he almost gave up. When his neighbors said to him, "Why don't you ask someone to help? No one can do it alone. Like, you can't bear the pain of your wife's death alone." And at that, Ove bowed his head, and for the first time, he spoke of his most painful memory, of the year they went on a trip together, happy as it was, to celebrate his wife's pregnancy.